Today we're going to look at something that has been requested by you wonderful viewers for a long time now, the Marshall Valvestate 8100 model. Now, this differs from the later generation of Valvestates a bit, and if you believe the internet, then this is where the real tone is. What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Taylor, and there have been a lot of claims to fame for the 8100, whether it's Prong, Static X, Meshuggah, White Zombie, and even legendary death metal bands like Cannibal Corpse and, well, death. It has been rumored to be on many records and used live by many bands, but why? I mean, it's mostly a solid state amp, right? Don't you need tubes to sound good? Why do people love this amp so much? I became really curious about this amp while doing research for another video that I'm making on my Crate G130C XL, and if any of you have ever used a Valvestate, or a Crate for that matter, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I really like hearing your guys' experiences with these older 90s amplifiers. So apparently the Crate GX130C was rumored to be used by Cannibal Corpse in the 90s, and if you believe the internet neckbeards that lurk forums and like to correct people without fact-checking their own assumptions, then you would know the Crate GX130C was used on Cannibal Corpse's The Bleeding. Well, when I was trying to validate this claim, I came across studio footage from the Bleeding sessions uploaded by then guitar player Jack Owen to his YouTube channel, and the only glimpse I could catch of any guitar amplifier was not a Crate, but a Marshall Valvestate. So the inevitable criticism you're going to run into with these types of amplifiers from tube snobs is they're solid state, they can't be good. Well, lucky for you, there is a tube. Yes, just one. One little guy right in the preamp section. This tube only affects the overdrive tones on this model, and the rest of the amp is solid state, and I think that's the main thing that differentiates it from other popular 90s death metal solid state amplifiers. So let's plug it in and see how mean of a tone we can get with it. But first, I just want to mention that this video is brought to you by my members and patrons. I could not make these videos without the support of my members and patrons, and if you are interested in joining, you get all sorts of cool perks, like the stems for the demo track on this video. I just added those recently, so if that's something you're interested in, check the description below. And with that out of the way, let's get to the chugs. I'm plugged into my Marshall Valvestate model 8100 here. We have a boost in front of the amplifier. I don't have that engaged yet. I also have a noise gate in the effects loop. This amp is a little bit noisy. I don't know if that's just these amps in general or this particular amplifier, but it's a bit noisy, so I just put a noise gate in the loop. I'm playing a Solar V with EMGs in it. There's an 81 in the bridge, 85 in the neck. Here's the clean channel. There you go. If you like playing grandpa guitars and you want to hear the clean channel, there you have it. Demo's over for you. The rest of us are here for the chugs. Actually, we have a reverb channel here too. Let's turn this all the way up. So I mess with this EQ a little bit too. You know who you are. Actually, the clean channel doesn't sound bad. The reverb doesn't sound bad either. And if we turn the gain up, we can get some pretty gritty tones out of it. And we are just on the clean channel. There are actually 2 different channels on this amplifier, and each of the channels has 2 different voicings, so it's kind of like you have 4 channels total on this amplifier. We're just on the clean setting right now. There is a crunch setting as well. We'll press that here in just 1 second. Now, what's kind of interesting is this channel has no channel volume. You have a channel volume over here on the boost channel or the overdrive channel, but no channel volume over here. And if you turn this gain up, not only are you turning the volume on the clean mode up and down, but you're actually adding a considerable amount of gain into the signal as well. And the tone is very, very Marshall-esque to me. It really reminds me of that classic Marshall tone you'd hear with bands like AC/DC or whatever. But you know, this channel really reminds me of my experience using a JCM-800, and I am not the world's most authoritative expert on Marshall amplifiers or JCM-800s, but it's just kind of what it reminds me of. And this channel is 100% solid state too. You can tell because when you power up the amplifier, if you power it up on the boost channel, it takes a few seconds for the tube to warm up. If you power it on the normal channel, it'll just power up and play right away. Dial this something like that. I actually really like the clean channel. I think the clean channel's super versatile. All right, enough with that. Let's turn on the crunch switch here. And automatically we get a big reduction in volume. The gain knob at this point becomes more of just an actual gain knob and less of a volume and gain knob. I forgot to mention the cabinet that I'm using is a Mesa oversized 4x12 cabinet. I'm miking that up with what might be my new favorite microphone to mic up cabinets with. That is an 𝗦𝗍𝒐 Electronics X1A microphones. They're super affordable, and I think you get really, really good sound reproduction with them. I think it sounds really similar to what the cabinet actually sounds like in the room sitting next to it. So, you know, it's really interesting to me. Like I said, this is completely solid state. And I think what's really cool about it is Marshall really managed to capture the sound that made their amps so popular in the first place. Like when I think Marshall amplifiers, I think really rich harmonic content, especially in the mid-range. And just playing through this channel, I couldn't tell you that I was playing a completely solid state amplifier. It sounds and feels really good. And if this amplifier wasn't versatile enough as is, just with the one channel and the 2 different modes between the one channel, we actually have the overdrive channel here, or the boost channel as they're referring to it. Let's switch over to that. And this channel does have the tube preamp. I have everything set to noon. This is OD1, which is the lower gain overdrive setting here. But again, a ton of that rich harmonic content in the mid-range that right away I associate with Marshall amplifiers, but let's dial it here a little bit. And this is the
the knob that made these amps so popular, the contour knob here. And what this knob is doing is when you have it on the low setting, it sort of shelves off the high end, and then when you have it on the high setting, it scoops your mids out. A lot of people referred to this as the old guy, new guy knob. So like this would be like the old Marshall sound. New guy Marshall sound. Okay, not my favorite sound ever, but you know, if you really like super scooped mids, there you go. And of course you can sort of blend this to taste. We're just gonna use this to cut off some of that really scratchy top end. And you can see this knob is really super sensitive, especially in this range I wanna use it in, so. Okay, Overdrive 1 is very, very cool. Just playing through it, it's a little bit dry. It's even a little bit drier feeling and sounding to me than the crunch setting on the normal channel here. So let's go ahead and turn on Overdrive 2. Okay, so that tone to me, very mean, very aggressive. I actually had to dial back the gain a little bit. I was getting like too much gain and I was feeding back, sitting right next to it, even with my noise gate. But if you just listen to the huge range of tones that this amp covers, it's super, super impressive. And that's probably part of the reason it was on so many albums, is just because it could do so many tones. So if you owned a studio, this would be a really good amp to have, just because you could cover so many bases with one piece of gear. And pretty much all of those bands and the albums that I mentioned in the beginning of this video were recorded in the 90s. And you know, that's like pre-Kemper, really probably even pre like pod, like the early little red kidney bean pod. So this would have been a super valuable, useful tool in a studio, and that's probably a big part of the reason you hear it on so many albums. And also just the fact that it's a Marshall, and Marshall to me just puts the guitar in the place that you would want to hear it in a mix. They're not known for having a tremendous amount of low end, and like you can see on this one, I had to turn the bass all the way up, and I still don't feel like I have a lot of low end out of it. But for recording purposes, this would be great because it would put the guitars right in the mid-range, right where they're supposed to sit in the mix, and probably make the engineer and the mixing engineer's life a lot easier. You know what I mean? All right, now I don't necessarily think this amp needs a boost. It sounds really good on its own, but let's boost it just for funsies. I have this prototype overdrive that I'm working on with my buddy Shay over at This Heavy Earth Effects. Let's go back to the crunch setting on the clean channel, and let's try boosting that first. And I'm going to just turn the gain all the way down. We'll set this up something like that. I want to add some low end in. I just feel like boosting this amp is going to take away what little low end it has, so I'm trying to minimize that as much as possible. Let's hear it. I like that a lot. It's a little bit darker on this channel than it is on the boost channel, but let's switch over to the boost channel here and hear what that sounds like. Pretty cool sounding. I like it a lot. Now you notice that I turned the gain knob down all the way. Adding in just that little bit of extra gain really neuters the low end and just makes it sound a little bit thin. So I just went ahead and turned the gain all the way down and just am using this as a boost. And I think that way it actually sounds really good. I don't know if I prefer it with or without the boost now. Can't even remember my own songs. All right, so there you have it. The Marshall 8100. Killer metal amplifier. There's a reason it's been on so many albums and it's so highly revered and loved by so many people. I think it's well deserving of that title. What do you guys think of the Marshall Valvestate amplifiers? Do any of you own them? Do you have any experience with them? Definitely let me know down in the comments below. I was really surprised by this amplifier. I think this amplifier sounds terrific, so much so that I bought it just to make this video with, but I'm actually gonna keep it. I like it that much. All right, if you guys have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to let me know down in the comments and by hitting the like button. If you really like what I do here on my channel, there are all sorts of ways that you can help out down in the description below. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.